The dominating topic was the use of new drugs and drug combinations that seem to offer real hope. Non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors are very potent anti-HIV agents. Their present shortcoming is the development of viral drug resistance, but this may be shortly overcome. A particularly promising niche for the NNRTIs may be in their short-term use. Examples being acute HIV infection, accidental exposure to HIV, a particular problem with healthcare workers, mother-to-infant transmission of HIV. In these situations, drug-resistant development would not pose such a problem even if the NNRTI monotherapy was employed. However, it is likely that it would be preferable to use the NNRTI agent in combination with other antiretrovirals. Another advantage of this present class of drugs is their lack of toxicity in comparison to previous HIV agents. Side effects reported have been skin rash, elevated transaminase levels, and gastrointestinal disturbances. These side effects usually occur within the first several weeks of therapy and may be dose limiting.
I discovered in August of '85 that I had HIV, and I've been here for 11 years since that diagnosis, and I'm 37. I would like to see 47, 57, and 67. Have you
had any experience with these protease inhibitors, or do you know anybody who has had experience?
My boyfriend is taking a protease inhibitor. It took us about a month to get it for him. He's had some painful neuropathy in his left side, and we're just hoping that there'll be something else to come along sooner that doesn't have such side effects and isn't so expensive. Neuropathy is where there's pain like at the end of the hands, the end of the feet, and that's what he's been experiencing.
As a person living with AIDS, do you feel this new class of drugs is going to make a difference as a whole?
Yes, I'm very optimistic and hopeful that the new drugs will take us one step further. I don't think we have not arrived at the results, at the cure. We are working towards, and the combination therapies that are being recommended, I think, will take us one step closer. Now, accessibility is the concern. There is the hope and there is the new outcomes of these drugs. Now, how are we going to get to them? Because it's a two-point scenario. One, that there is the research and there is hope. As a person living with AIDS myself, I'm involved in that triple combination. I have felt much better, much energetic. I'm taking the triple combination, but then there are people that are even living within the United States that doesn't have no access. So the question remains, whose world and whose hope?
Well, what is the triple combination?
Oh, you want me to endorse it?
I know the names are difficult. But...
Well, it's been said that the triple combination, and it's recommended that we do AZT, 3TC, and insequanavir. Therefore, that is one protease inhibitor and two antivirals. Sequanavir was one of the first ones. Now now we have more protease inhibitors to choose from. So as long as the therapy includes a protease combined with another kind of antiviral, such as AZT, 3TC, D4T, which it might be the perfect combination. It is a combination therapy, a cocktail. New drugs or these combinations is really, they need to be controlled. They're very high prices. The cost for a protease inhibitor for an individual for a year can run in the thousands of dollars.
How many thousand?
It's about $9,000 to $10,000 per the protease inhibitor alone. Now, this can be very alarming because can create, for the insurances or for the departments of health who can go bankrupt overnight. People with AIDS there are more people with AIDS becoming infected, and people are developing opportunistic infections. People need to enter early treatment, what they call that we have to enter early treatment. So, but economically, that means also that we are going to be faced with an economic situation because of the high cost of these drugs.
Are you
Well, I don't believe that drug companies are taking advantage of us. What we need to do is do some price regulation. We need to, as people living with AIDS, as organizations, as industries, to monitor and have some control over the pricing. The pricing must be regulated, because how expensive and how high can it get?
And especially as all of us struggle with gaining access to these new drugs for our patients, I think there's no person who fights harder than Julio for his patients here in Canada. They have just recently completed a study of antiretroviral naive patients with non-nucleoside activities with some very exciting results, and Dr. Montana is going to share those with us right now.
Thank you, Mike.
Now, with mother-to-infant transmission, there are a few particular points. One is timing. Because of the resistance issue, if you would use these drugs as monotherapy, you could only use them for a very short period, which means you would have to target the use around delivery. Because if you would start too soon, the virus would have become resistant by the time the mother delivers, which is the time that most transmission of HIV from mother to infant occurs, and the drugs would be useless. But of course you could overcome that by using them in combination.
Well, I think we have seen a lot of encouraging news about these new treatments, and for those people who can afford them and live in countries where the medical system allows them to take them, I think there's new hope. But this is a world conference, an international conference, and there are 95% of new infections are in countries that are poor, and for them these drugs are a pipe dream at the present time. They do not get them. If they got them, if they were to obtain them, they wouldn't have the resources to buy them. If they got them for free, they wouldn't have the medical systems to really get them to the people who are sick. So for them, I think the perception of the conference is quite different. It is like there's a lot of cruelty in that view, in that you have hope for somebody else, but not for yourself.
Do you think the drug companies are taking advantage of the poorest of the poor?
No, I don't think so. I think bashing the drug companies will get us nowhere. There is, of course, the deeper problem of the lack of balance in economic resources between the North and the South, and the fact that the solutions that we have are necessarily expensive. Even if drugs cost half of what they cost, and drug companies wouldn't make any profits, that would still be much too much for most countries in Africa where most infected people are. So I think for the next conference we'll have to move on to other solutions, cheaper drugs, easier to take, and vaccines.
Here he showed you the data that the compliance of the patient helps to determine which of those routes the patient will take. So what we need to do is use this drug, which is potent, and this class of drugs are potent drugs, but that potency is reversed very quickly with just a single mutation, and we have to decide which strategy and how to use these drugs, because once that mutation has emerged, we can't reverse the evolutionary pathway that has been selected. And I can tell you that our experience with nevirapine-resistant virus in patients who have stopped the drug, it's a very fit virus, and the first dozen or so patients we've looked at, none of them reverted in the first year or so being off drug. So this decision of how to use the drug and what strategy is a critical one. I'll stop here and let our chairs decide how we want to proceed. Thanks.
Yeah, they've talked about new drugs, but I don't know whether there will be any help to our people because we don't have access to those drugs. I wish we could have access to those drugs. It could help a lot of people in Africa.
Are you having a good time while you're here?
Yeah, I am. Really good time. Vancouver is a beautiful city. I really enjoyed